he will try to drag on this war if there are no negotiations until the cold season, until winter. And then he will actually blackmail West much more seriously with gas supplies and oil supplies.
Lots of smart people, including Henry Kissinger, the former US diplomat, saying there'll be some kind of deal where Russia takes some territory and in return stops the war, where the West can then get its economy working again, all get on with our lives. But where would that leave Ukraine? Let's talk again to the Ukrainian author Andrei Kurkov. He wrote Death and the Penguin, also wrote a great piece for the Sunday Times this weekend about his views of the war and his feeling of uncertainty. Andrei, good morning. What do you make first of these voices in the West who are urging the government to negotiate?
Well, this is the second series of talks about Ukraine giving up territories in exchange of new status quo and new peace. The first articles were written mostly by unknown or locally known politologists and experts, and now it's Berlusconi and Kissinger. But I think a lot of political leaders in Europe are thinking the same way and probably will be talking about this very soon. Because Germany is very slow to deliver what they promised, heavy weapon to Ukraine. The front line is 1,800 kilometers long, and Ukraine doesn't have enough artillery to cover all this front line. So now, obviously, Putin is in a hurry to take the whole regions of Donbas, Donetsk and Luhansk regions, and it looks like then there will be a pause, and then probably Macron and Scholz will talk again to Zelensky, asking him to start negotiations with Putin.
What then should Zelensky's reply be, do you think? Do you think he should just say no? Or, as a ruler, as a leader, so not a ruler, as a leader, does he have to take into account these voices that are advising him to do some kind of a deal?
Well, 82% of Ukrainians are against any deal and against giving up territory. So he will be under pressure. And once he starts negotiations on the terms of Putin, I think his popularity will plummet down. So it is quite a dangerous situation.
I was very interested in your piece in the Sunday Times. You really did single out Germany, perhaps as the weak link in Western unity. Just read a little bit of your piece that you wrote. If by the time you read this, the Luhansk region has been completely captured by Russia, this will mean Germany has helped Vladimir Putin to take that territory. So really, putting the onus on Germany and identifying them as undermining Western solidarity.
Well, what is happening? Germany and Olaf Scholz are the most vocal supporters on words of Ukraine. At the same time, there were no deliveries of heavy weapons for probably 7 or 8 weeks now. So, Macron is not so vocal. He is not talking so much about support of Germany. Yesterday, Germany promised humanitarian aid, a huge sum of money for humanitarian aid, not for military aid. So, when you expect so much from one country and the country promises so much and doesn't deliver, of course, this country is going to be guilty. The previous several days ago, there was a scandal between President Andrzej Duda of Poland and Germany, because Germany apparently promised them to replace their Soviet tanks with German tanks if Poland gives old tanks to Ukraine. And then it was said by German officials that Duda misunderstood. They promised to consider it, but didn't promise to deliver it.
Well, also in your piece, you also talk about a certain amount of what you describe as a loss of optimism among Ukrainian leaders. Just could you tell us a little bit more about that? Do you think that actually the mood is turning a bit bleaker?
No, not at all. The statements from official bloggers are becoming more concerned. But for example, yesterday there was a counter attack on the Russian forces in the south of Ukraine, on Kherson, and Ukrainian army managed to push them 9 kilometers back. So the spirit is back up. But it's very volatile. I mean, the mood is the spirit is high actually. I mean, and people are expecting more and more victories from the Ukrainian army, but you cannot produce it regularly with a limited number of cannons and war machinery.
President Putin is talking about resuming some sort of corridor of grain shipments. When I read that, it struck me that this is a way for him to sort of prize apart that Western alliance. If he can promise them some economic help, the resumption of making bread cheaper for their voters, that is a way of bringing about what you're talking about. This idea of getting to a stage where the West is putting pressure on Ukrainian leaders to give
Yeah,
up some territory.
obviously, I mean, he can do nothing without blackmail in Western countries, and he will carry on. And actually, I think his not worst case scenario, but I mean, not the best scenario, but he will do it. He will try to drag on this war if there are no negotiations until the cold season, until winter. And then he will actually blackmail West much more seriously with gas supplies and oil supplies.
Are you still, just from your earlier answer, it sounds like we know the answer to this already, but you're still quite confident that Ukraine can win?
I'm confident. I'm confident Ukraine can actually resist for a very long time and will not let Russian forces nearer to Kyiv, although the attacks are still possible because Russia is amassing new reserves on the northern borders between next to Ukrainian and Belarusian border. But it's mostly to distract Ukrainian forces from Donbas and from the south. But Ukraine can carry on fighting for a very long time, I think, now. And thanks to, not thanks to America or Europe, thanks to British help, thanks to the help coming from the United States, and from small countries like Lithuania, Estonia, and from Poland.